everyone. Welcome back to Mother's Mysteries. I am your host, Cece, here with my co-host,
Colleen.
And our mini co-host who's in the other room, Henry's here with us. Which today's episode is kind of fitting that one of my kids is here because this episode deals with children in the spotlight-esque. But before we get into it, I am sorry, guys. We took a couple weeks off. 1 week we had a family thing. And then last week, I had a baby who was sick. One of my other kids was sick. I think they've started back to school and most of them aren't feeling awful, but I think they're bringing all their germs home to me. So I apologize. I'm a little rough. I might have to turn away and blow my nose a couple times. I also am going to apologize because I really wanted to do this episode. I feel very passionate about this episode, but I don't feel good. And I work 2 jobs now and it's a lot. That's not your guys' fault because I endeavored this before I started the second job, but I phoned in some of this script. So this is not my grade A work. I'm very sorry, but I still put much effort into this like I always do. I'm never going to short you guys, but this just isn't my top tier. Ooh, sorry. This isn't going to be my FLDS script. Just put it that way. I feel like I did very good with the Warren Jeffs script. As hard as that was and as disgusting as that was, I felt like I did a good job. But anyway, so yes. How have you been since it's been like 2 weeks?
This last week's been rough.
I'm so sorry.
Just with everything in the national news. And I don't know, it's just hit me really hard.
Yeah, without getting super political, guys, regardless of anybody's feelings on what's happening in the world right now, a young man was shot and killed in front of a crowd of people. Regardless of what you feel about him, let's look at the facts. It was a young man who was shot and killed in front of people, viciously, maliciously. Regardless of how you feel about him, that is not okay for anybody. School shootings at public figures, you dude on the corner of the street, it is not okay. So regardless of his public appearance and his political beliefs and your political beliefs, let's still talk about a young family man with a wife and young children was shot and killed.
And a TV crew in the background clapping when his death was announced is not okay.
Yeah. We all have our own opinions, and that is perfectly fine. That is how this world revolves, and I will always be the first to tell you that we can be friends. We can be friends and you can have your own opinions. I will never turn people away for political opinions. You can believe what you want. I believe what I want. It's all good. But like I said, what boils down to the facts, if you take politics out of it, a young man was shot and killed in front of a crowd of people. Not okay. We can mourn him. You don't have to like him. You don't have to agree with what he said, but the way he was murdered is awful. Anybody's murder is awful, but yes, politics aside, that's awful. And some of the stuff I've seen on the internet about his death makes me feel bad. Like I said, take politics out of it. You don't have to like him, but that death was horrific. I saw the video.
And they said I don't know, but some said his family was right there.
I think they were close by, which is even worse. But yeah, like I said.
Let's not speculate. Let's get the facts.
Yeah.
That's a human life. It's not.
And I would say this about anybody. There was a school shooting this week. That's horrific. Let's not skate over that either. That's awful. Children.
A woman down in North Carolina that was stabbed to death.
Yes.
That several onlookers and she wasn't helped.
And that was the very public video.
Yes.
That was awful. Yeah, like I said, regardless of anybody's beliefs or political beliefs, somebody lost their life. People have lost their lives this week, and that's not okay.
Nope. Black, white, Asian,
Mexican, purple, red, alien.
Human.
If you come from the planet Gabba Gabba, we're sorry. Nobody should lose their life like that. So yeah, we're just throwing that out there, guys. All right. 5 minutes of rambling. Anything else?
Sorry. Other than that, life is good.
Yeah, it's not awful. The poor baby had a double ear infection. I felt so bad for him because I feel like I maybe let it go on a little too long because he's teething too. We're getting molars, so it's everything. But he's good now. He's had antibiotics for a good week. He's happy. He's healthy. He's good. My mother-in-law came back from Italy, so of course baby's happy because grandma's home. Yeah, that was I got nice gifts from my mother-in-law, which I never expect her to bring me anything back when she goes on a trip, and she always does, and I love her for that. She's so beautiful. She went to Disney a couple months ago, and she called me, and she was like, "What is that superhero you like?" And I'm like, "Oh, which one?" Because I'm a superhero buff. I'm just starting to get into the MCU. Don't yell at me. I was a DC purist for like ever. I was Batman, Justice League, Superman, Wonder Woman only. And then in my adulthood, I was like, wait a minute, I kind of want to watch the Avengers. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I like Avengers. Anyway, so she was at Disney and she called me personally to ask me what superhero I liked. And I told her that I really wanted a Loki shirt. And she found me a Loki shirt. She's like, I had to go to 2 stores, but I found you a Loki shirt.
2 stores.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, I bet you're really upset you had to go to 2 different stores at Disneyland." She likes to shop, but, that's another she's wonderful. But, yeah, she brought me back a very beautiful necklace that is hand-blown glass beads from Malta, I think, is where she said she got them from. I don't regardless, it's very beautiful. She brought back gifts for all the boys too. They all got, Italian wooden Pinocchio toys. You pull the string and their little arms jump. All the boys got one of those. They all got a t-shirt. She didn't get the baby a Pinocchio, but she did get him a cute little, like, sailor shirt, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, he's gonna look so cute. I wish I had a little hat." And she got my husband a, oh god, what are those called? Those flat brim hats. I don't know if you guys ever watch Peaky Blinders. They wear them in Peaky Blinders. They put the razor blades in them, the flat. Anyway,
Not berets.
no, it's not a beret. It's the whatever it's called. He likes those. He collects those, and she got him one that has the Godfather Marlon Brando on it. It says Godfather, and he
Like
was
the
so happy.
Irish one he has.
Yeah, he's got one that's like tweed, and it's like a tartan kind of if you know what that is. It's like a tartan pattern, but it's green and gray, and he collects those. Anyway, he's got leather ones. He's got tweed. I wish he would wear a 3-piece suit, but he won't.
He would look nice in a 3-piece suit.
He would look so good. He would look good in a shirt and a vest, and he won't because he thinks he's fat, and he's not. He's wonderful. By the way, he made me coffee before I left the house this morning,
Coffee.
and he makes my coffee perfect. And I just, if there are any single ladies listening, don't settle. I have never told this man how I take my coffee, and he gets it perfect every time. And I am super picky with my coffee. Like, I'm 1 sugar, a generous amount of creamer, not too much creamer though, because I still like to taste my coffee. Just and he put it in his dad cup. I don't know why I put it in his dad cup, but he could put it in mine, but it's okay. He made me coffee. He's perfect. He got up with the baby last night, which, quite honestly, he sleeps through the night most of the time. All right. Are we ready to get into this today? Meh.
Yeah.
I think we've done enough chitter chat. I think it's time to get into this week's case. Oh, guys, this one. This one bothers me because I'm a mother and I don't know. I've been on YouTube. I do this podcast. I invite you guys to add me on Facebook and stuff. Like I post my children, not a whole lot. I've gotten better as the older I've gotten because I'm not on social media as much as I was when I was younger. But I don't force my kids to take pictures and do things on YouTube. Like if any of my kids were like, "No, I don't want to be in this picture," or "No, I don't," that's fine. I mean, no, if I'm spending money and taking nice family pictures, I don't give a shit. You're sitting down and we're taking nice family pictures. But anyway, like my son Henry's in the other room right now playing Fortnite on his Switch. And if I asked him to come in here and say hi and he said no, I'd be like, okay, Henry doesn't want to say hi. I've never forced my kids to be in the limelight if they don't want to. They don't have to. I will tell you, all of my children, even my stepchildren, are hams. And they would never say no because they're hams. But yeah, there's been times that I was on Ma's YouTube channel for a year and a half. And if Henry ever not wanted to be on a video, that was fine.
Right.
And I know my baby can't say no, but I also like don't, like he's in a couple videos with me because he's a baby. But if he gets old enough and he doesn't want to be on a video, that's fine. Like I don't force my children to do things. So my view on child entertainment is I don't if you're 3 years old and you tell me no, okay, we don't do this video. But I also understand that people thrive off the family vlog thing. Maybe not so much anymore. I know it was really big. Anyway, I'll get into my personal feelings when we get into this case more. But anyway, we're going to be talking about Ruby Franke. You might know her as the Mommy Mormon vlogger from the late 2000s. If you don't know her, go on YouTube right now and look up 8 Passengers, I think. It might not be 8 Passengers anymore, but I'm sure you can look up 8 Passengers and find her old family vlog. She was a family vlogger. And her life spirals. I'm just going to put it out there. Her life spirals, and from being a wholesome family vlogger to an abusive parent is crazy to me. But
Not okay.
no. And what she does is horrific. It's not. Without going into great detail and ruining the case that I've prepared for you guys, it's just we're going to talk about Ruby Franke, the Franke family, and her children and subsequent abuse and arrest. I will say I don't think it is solely her fault. I'm not going to skate over the fact that she did do these crimes. She did abuse her children. But there is another puzzle piece to this that I think has a lot to do with it. But anyway, let us get into the case. Today we're going to dive into the story that is both heartbreaking and deeply troubling. The rise and fall of Ruby Franke, a once beloved mom vlogger, now convicted of serious child abuse. Over the next hour and a half, we're going to unpack how the picture-perfect online family life unraveled, what warning signs were there, how the legal system reacted, and what this means for all of us in the age of family content, influence, culture, and faith. All right, guys. Imagine a mother documenting every family moment, millions of viewers, social media sponsorship, all the trappings of the Instagram and YouTube momfluencer. Yet behind the camera, children allegedly starving, bound, and traumatized. A son escaped, pleading for help at a neighbor's home. A woman once adored by followers is arrested. How did we get here? That's what we're going to explore in this week's episode.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. I have a little blippet here about her early life, but quite honestly, I don't really care. It's not that important to me as much as the other stuff is, but I'm just going to skim over this because it's only a paragraph. So let's begin at the beginning. Ruby Franke was born Ruby Griffith, January 18th, 1982 in Utah. She grew up with multiple siblings. In 2000, she married Kevin Franke, Franke, Franke. Over the next decade, they had 6 children: Sherry, Chad, Abby, Julie, Russell, and Eve. Born between 2003 and 2013. Ruby and Kevin were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the LDS. Their faith played a huge role in their values and their parenting style, as it does. Mormons have a whole layout on how to parent your children, which is not bad. In 2015, they launched 8 Passengers, a YouTube channel documenting daily family life. Early videos showed homeschooling, parenting hacks, day in the life of segments, family routines. It struck a chord with many viewers, connecting with the faith-oriented and family-focused content creations. By 2020, the channel had about 2.5 million subscribers, and they had generated over 1 billion total views. Yeah, I've seen some of the Sorry, guys. I've seen some of the YouTube videos. The early ones are cute. It's like her making cookies with the kids, homeschooling stuff. Like later on, I think they go to a private school. So like they've got like a big van because there's like eight passengers. There's 8 of them. Her husband worked for BYU, yeah, Brigham Young University in Utah. He was a professor. But yeah, the early videos are really cute, like her taking them to school and them like cooking stuff. And she did talk about parenting. She'd be like, we had an incident today, so. And there were some where she'd be like, okay, I'm sorry we had this, I feel like there was one where she might have like raised her voice at the kids, and she sat down, she's like, I'm sorry I raised my voice. That was not right of me. This is what happened. Like, and I resonate with that because I do that with my kids. I try not to raise my voice, but there's sometimes mom loses her cool because I'm human and I fully admit it. And if I am wrong, I always sit down and I'm like, I am sorry I raised my voice at you and that upset you, but this is what happened and this is the expectation that wasn't met. I'm sorry that I had a reaction to that. Mom apologizes. Going forward, like I try to sit down and reason with my kids, and we're not talking about parenting styles. Nobody is bad if they do anything else, but that's just my parenting style. And you can even ask Henry, even though he's in the other room. I fully apologize to my children if I am in the wrong, and I have been in the wrong. I am not perfect.
What?
There's time. I have 5 little boys. There are times that something gets broken or lost, and it's not one kid's problem, or it's not one kid's fault, and I blame them. And then when I find out the truth, I'm like, I'm sorry. You were right. Mommy is sorry she wasn't listening to you. That was wrong of mom. Here's a popsicle. No, I don't bribe my kids like that. But yeah, anyway.
Here's a whole bag of candy. Don't tell your dad.
I'll give them candy in front of their dad. Her early videos I resonate with though. So I was like, yeah. Not wholeheartedly, because some of them I'm like, no, ma'am. But it wasn't awful. I have a little quote here from Miss Ruby. It says, we wanted to share our faith. We wanted to show what a responsible, caring family looks like. Her early content was great. All right, continuing. The public face was warm, picture perfect, kids, faith, routine, chores, holiday celebrations, parenting content, sometimes discipline, but portrayed as constant with the values she preached. Many admired her homeschooling, being present with her children, living intentionally, but cracks were starting to show by 2020.
I think everybody cracked a little bit in 2020.
I mean, yeah. Some examples of the crack showing: a teenage son sleeping on a beanbag chair in the basement for an extended period of time as punishment, 7 months in one video. This is documented, guys. This isn't, I mean, there's a whole video where she talks about, she talks about this, why he was sleeping on a beanbag chair, why she took his, she starts to get into punishments, and her punishments aren't, okay, you're grounded, no electronics, you can't go do something with your friends. They're like, I'm taking your door away from you because you didn't tell me about a test. You didn't make your bed one morning, so I'm taking your bed away from you for 7 months. I think that's part of this. I will tell you that harsh. I was watching a documentary about her, so this sticks out to me over this week. And her 6-year-old daughter was supposed to get up and make her lunch for school that day, and she left it on the counter. School called and said, your daughter doesn't have a lunch. And she said, okay, that's fine. She just won't eat today. And then she makes a video about it. And she's like, whatever a child's name is, I don't know at the time. But she was like, she was supposed to get up and make her lunch. She didn't do that, or she forgot it. So her punishment is she's not going to eat lunch today. And I'm like, as a mom, that's not okay. Their punishment would be, okay, I'm going to go to school and you're going to get a PB&J. Like something, you forgot your lunch at home. That happens. You're not going to starve to death, but you're not going to get what you packed yourself for lunch.
Old.
Yeah.
Come on.
if my kid forgot his lunch, I'd be like, okay, here's $5 for a hot lunch. You're not going to get the sandwich that you wanted or whatever you had in your lunchbox. You're going to get what the school serving. Like that's their punishment is they don't get what they want, but they're not going to starve because as an adult, I've packed my lunch and forgot it. I'm not going to starve. I'm going to get probably McDonald's or something that I don't really want or I don't need. But I would never if I didn't yeah. I had a kid just a couple weeks ago forget his binder and was having a complete and utter meltdown at school. And I was like, it's cool. Mom will drive to dad's work and get it out of the van because dad gets the boys on the bus in the morning. I will drive to the school and drop it off and everything is going to be okay. It's not a big deal. And when he got home, he thanked me and everything. And I was like, buddy, it's okay. You're never going to get in trouble for forgetting something. Like, don't ever think I'm going to ground you because you forgot your binder. I'm like, you're just lucky mom didn't have to go into work that morning. So I could do that. But yeah, no, we're all humans anyway. Oh yeah, my next punishment for forgetting a lunch, refusing and refusing to pack it, Ruby said natural consequences needed to teach responsibility. Threats like taking away gifts, withholding privileges, using fear tactics such as stuffed toys and Santa in discipline. There's a whole video where one of her small children is like cutting up stuff, like doll clothes or something like that, which is not okay. But she takes to like their favorite stuffed animal and she's like, if you cut one more thing in my house, I'm cutting the stuffed animal's head off. And I'm like, that's not okay either. There's also a whole video where her and her husband sit down and talk about the fact that their two oldest children, which would be Sherry and Connor. Yeah, the two oldest, Sherry and Connor. That they've been so terrible and awful that they're not going to get Christmas this year. They're going to get the gift of forgiveness or something like that from their parents. So their punishment, which by the way, I say older, I mean like they're like 11 and 12 or something at this point in time in this video. I remember watching this video. But she's like, they're not going to get Christmas gifts. They're going to get to watch their other siblings open up their Christmas gifts, but they're going to get forgiveness and they're going to get a reset and just insanity. Like, how is that okay that you're going to let your other children open up Christmas gifts in front of their face and you're not giving them anything?
No.
Because you claim that they're terrible, awful, selfish children. That's a big thing that she uses. These children are so selfish. And I was like, that's children. We are raising them to not be selfish human beings. Like that's in their nature. That's in our nature. Even as adults, we're selfish sometimes, but like we're teaching them. Anyway. At this time, she's still putting out more content and stuff like that. There's one where she is taking the kids to school, I believe, and she gets into an accident. I think somebody blows a tire in front of her or behind her, and she pulls over and completely freaks out, but she starts recording. And in the video, it's really frightening to me because her kids are obviously very concerned. Like, they don't know what's going on. They're shaken. And Ruby is just like, is everyone okay? Oh my God. And she like gets out and circles the van and her kids are inside screaming and crying. I'm like, I get wanting to make content, I guess, out of that because this, by this time, this was like her full-time job and they're making quite a bit of money off of it. But like, make sure your kids are okay. Calm them down. Everything's going to be fine. And then, I don't know, make a short video and be like, hey, something happened to us this morning. Like, and she turns it into a faith thing where she's like, thank God we were praying and God protected us. And I don't hate on that, whatever. But like your children are in the van screaming. You can hear them in the video. They're all obviously very upset and you're vlogging about it. Like make sure your kids are okay. We didn't need to see the vlog about it. That one was really disturbing to me. That one stuck out. But anyway, let us continue. As 8 passengers grew, so did security and some of the warning signs. In early/mid 2020, viewers raised concerns, including via change.org petition about the discipline methods. There was a petition put out for DCFS or whatever it is out in Utah to come take a look at the Frankie family. A neighboring school reported situations like skipping meals Ruby's beliefs in spiritual possession, evil, demons, accelerate. Ruby's beliefs in spiritual possession, evil, and demonic possession, saying that the instituted in her children's behavior. Journals and private entries where the children were described in extremely religious / spiritual language. We're going to talk about that a little bit more when we talk about her crimes. But yes, she was writing journals talking about how her children were possessed. And more specifically, because at this time, Sherry and Connor were old enough that they had moved out. I don't think Connor was. I think they kicked Connor out at like 16 or 17, which is not okay. But Sherry, their oldest daughter, was old enough. She was going to college at the time. But yeah, we'll get into that too, because there's some extenuating circumstances around that. Ruby's mental health was in question. There were instances where the children were left alone for long periods of time, along with unnecessary isolation. Despite these signs, formal investigations seem to lack illumination, lacking clear physical evidence, visibility, parents' denial, and claims of faith-based discipline. They're also shielded by just being content creators. The veil of their online persona masked what was going on the inside. Okay. We're going to get into her relationship with Jodi Hildebrandt and the connection. I don't have it in here, but Jodi Hildebrandt worked with the LDS Church for quite a few years. They recommended her for spiritual counseling. She was a psychologist, and I say was because there is clear proof that her license was suspended in 2012 and she was still working with the church, and she was not a licensed psychologist. But she was giving, she was counseling people under the guise of spiritual counseling through the church because she was LDS affiliated. And I don't know. I'm trying to think of how I'm going to explain her. I don't know. I'm just going to read the script and we'll talk. I'm just going to read what I have. A major turning point for Ruby Franks involved Jodi Hildebrandt. Who was Hildebrandt? She was a counselor, a life coach who ran Connections, Connextions. That's important. Connections classrooms. She had past issue. Her license was suspended in 2012. The relationship started professionally. Hildebrandt counseled one of the Franks' children when he was a teenager. This would be Connor. Over time, this escalated into mentorship and partnership. Ruby began serving as a mental fitness coach under Connections, appearing in videos, collaborating on Moms of Truth. This was another YouTube channel that her and Jodi had. Hildebrandt's influence grew. According to court documents and media, she allegedly had encounters. She alleged to have more encourage and extreme discipline, she had harsh spiritual possession beliefs, controlling behavior. Ruby in court in an interview said that she was led to believe that the world is evil and her children were somehow possessed. Some sources indicate Ruby moved in with Hildebrandt. Eventually, Hildebrandt takes a more direct role in parenting decisions and discipline. Okay. So, Jodi meets Hildebrandt because apparently her son Connor is so out of control that she seeks help through the church, and the church recommends Jodi Hildebrandt. So Ruby is taking Connor for these sessions with Jodi, and that's how they meet. At some point, Ruby or Jodi tells Ruby that Connor needs to move out, that he's going to influence the other children. For whatever reason, this poor 17-year-old boy moves out. During this time, Sherry has also cut off from her mom because she has issues with the whole mom vlogging thing. So Ruby calls Sherry while she's at college and she was like, you're going to be off our insurance in a couple months. You need to figure that out. We're no longer paying for your apartment or whatever at college. She was going to BYU. So figure it out. And you can't come home.
What?
By the way, Sherry has a book, Sherry Frankie. If you want to look it up, it's pretty good. I haven't finished it yet because it just came out like last year when all this kind of blew up, but it's a pretty good read and it's very enlightening on Ruby and Jody's relationship, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so Ruby is getting more and more Jody is having more and more influence over Ruby. She has now cut ties with her oldest daughter and her oldest son. Then Ruby and Kevin are going to Jody for marriage counseling. And Jody has a whole men's group. Through this counseling, Ruby and Kevin split up. Kevin moves out of the house, and Jody convinces Ruby that Kevin is a awful, awful person. They need to be separated. If we talked about Mormons, they don't really divorce. It's frowned upon. So they're separated. Kevin's supposed to get his life in order, but he completely moves out into an apartment and doesn't see the children and doesn't see Ruby for like an entire year before the crux of this happens. But he's also paying, because Ruby doesn't work. She only does the vlogging stuff. So he's paying for them, paying for the apartment, paying for these counseling sessions with Jody. Well, Ruby, okay, I have to backtrack a little bit to talk about this. So at some point when Ruby is doing these counseling things, when her and Jody connect and Ruby is the mental fitness coach, Jody moves into their home for a short period of time. During this time, Kevin says that they hear strange noises, that Jody will lock herself in this room and you hear moaning and groaning and basically leading to that she's possessed in some way, shape, or form. And he says that because Ruby feels so strongly about this, she wants her to move in. She's trying to help her. So these flare-ups is from the interview that I watched with Kevin is what he calls it, happen at night a lot. So it started out where Ruby would go check on her a lot. And then it turned into Ruby would sit up with her all night. And then it turned into she's no longer sleeping in the bedroom with Kevin. She's staying in the room with Jody all night. Sherry, her daughter, in her book, very, very blatantly lays out that Jody and Ruby had a sexual relationship. Ruby denies that. Jody doesn't talk about anything. Sorry, guys. Ruby denies this. Jody doesn't talk. But Sherry has some pretty compelling evidence in her book that they had a relationship. So I'm not going to say fact on fact, but I'm just throwing them out there to put that in your mind, that they might have had a relationship, which, if you know anything about LDS and Mormons, that is frowned upon. And I backtracked to tell you that because while all this is happening, Ruby and Kevin's relationship is deteriorating, and Jody is supposed to be giving them counseling and therapy for their relationship, and she's sleeping with his wife. Anyway, so oldest children are out of the picture. Ruby's cut ties because Jody has told him that they're evil people. Kevin's no longer in the house, but he's still taking counseling from Jody.
He moved out in 2022.
Yeah. And I was just talking to Ma about this the other day. How do you work on a relationship? I mean, I understand a trial separation, if things are that bad. But how are you supposed to be working on your relationship when you move out, but you also don't have contact with your family? Like, I can understand moving out and getting some separation, but you guys are still going to counseling and you're still talking and he's coming to see his children or but how do you, we're going to work on a relationship. You need to move out and you can't talk to the kids anymore and you still have to pay our bills but you don't talk to me. And like he was saying, he didn't go to the kids' school stuff. I think they were being homeschooled by this time. Or maybe they're going to private school. I don't remember. But like you weren't going to school stuff. I'm pretty sure they were in some kind of sports or church events. You weren't going to any of that stuff. Like even without the religious aspect, how do you work on your relationship when you have no contact with the person you're trying to work on things with? I don't understand that.
So I'm reading this in 2022. The Franks separated and Kevin moved out of the house after her YouTube channel was suspended that year.
Yeah.
Ruby began working with mental health coach at Connections, a company ran by Jody Hildebrand, counselor. So why was her YouTube channel suspended? Because of
when her and Jody get deeper into this counseling stuff and she changes her 8 passengers to like moms of truth or something like that.
Yeah.
And she starts spewing religious stuff, which is fine. But hers is like really, really it's like parenting stuff, but it's really the discipline stuff comes into play. And it's very, very dark and people are reporting their videos because she's like yelling about we have to save our children and you have to discipline them. And sometimes you have to hit your kids to discipline them. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it says the 8-passenger YouTube channel declined in popularity in 2021.
Because her videos were getting like I said, guys, go on YouTube and look up weird. They were getting really like very stagey. The kids were getting to where they didn't want to be on camera anymore. And like people were like, hey, where's Connor? Because this is another thing. Ruby Franke is a very beautiful woman. Kevin Franks is a very beautiful man. They have very beautiful children. Tis what it is. Their son, Connor, blonde hair, blue eyes, I believe, or blonde hair, brown eye. Anyway, all their children are very beautiful anyway. Children are beautiful. I don't care what anybody says. But their kids are very beautiful because they're beautiful people. So like, there was also the aspect on their YouTube channel where they'd be like, do another video with Connor. He's so cute. So like when he drops off because you've kicked him out of the house and everything, people are like, where's Connor? Where's Sherry? Why did you do this Christmas video and Connor and Sherry aren't home for Christmas? Like what's going on? And yeah. During this time too, Sherry Franke is calling Child Protective Services and being like, I want you to check on my siblings. Something's not right. I haven't seen so-and-so in a video in a long time. My mom won't tell me what's going on. Like, she knows what's going on. So she's like, I want them to go check on my siblings. Kevin wasn't talking to her, by the way, too, which is another sad thing because Ruby was like, we're not talking to our daughter, which I don't understand. But anyway, so yeah. She was like, my dad won't talk to me. My mom's not telling me what's going on. I'm worried about my siblings. So she's calling frequently. But anyway, okay, so we know about Jody. I think Jody is mentally unstable. I'm just gonna put that out there. I don't think she should be a counselor. She's not, because her license was suspended in 2012 because she's batshit crazy. But before we get into the abuse and what led to the arrest, I think Ruby is, I don't want to say weak. She's not a weak woman. I think she was heavily influenced by Jody. Now, I'm not saying Ruby is, she's not clean from this because she was doing stuff before her and Jody met that I don't agree with, parenting styles and stuff like that. But I think she had a weak constitution anyway, and I think Jody had that influence over her. So, Ruby is an evil person. But I think Jody pulled the strings on this as well. Also, I think Kevin should have had a backbone. It should have been like, I'm the dad. No. But anyway. All right. So this is where the story becomes very disturbing. Let's go through the events, the evidence, and the arrest, charges, pleas, and sentencing. All right, events leading to the arrest. August 30th, 2023, arrest of Ruby Franks and Jody Hildebrand in Irving/Washington County, Utah. Triggers. A 12-year-old son escaped from Hildebrandt's home. They had moved from the Franks' home into Jody Hildebrandt's sprawling estate in pretty much the desert. But a 12-year-old son escaped the Hildebrandt home through a window and went to the neighbors, begging for food and water. He was found severely malnourished with wounds, duct tape bound on his ankles and wrist. There is a Ring video of this boy walking up to somebody's house, and he is rail thin. The video's kind of grainy, but you can see he's got something around his wrist because it's a Ring video. But yeah, he goes to the door and he's like, do you guys have any food and water? And it's an older gentleman that finally comes to the door because this is like the second or third house he's gone to where somebody actually answers the door. And the guy's like, what's wrong, son? He's like, I need some food and water. He's like, and I think I need the police. And so the guy's like, wait a minute, hold on a second, just stay right there. And the gentleman comes to the door. He's an older gentleman and he starts talking to him. And obviously the man, kudos to him because he's like, this boy is too skinny. Something's wrong. So he ends up calling the police. His 911 call is so sad because he's talking. He's like, yeah, we need the police out here. This boy, he's real thirsty. He's hungry. And they give him some food and water, obviously. And then this poor man starts to break down. He's like, something's happened. This boy, he's so skinny. He's got duct tape around his ankles. He's bleeding. We need somebody out here. Like, kudos to this man. But he starts to break, and it's really heartbreaking because you can tell he's very concerned and very upset. So the police come. They talk to the 12-year-old boy. He's still a minor, so we're not going to name names. So they talk to him and he's like, yeah, I came from that house over there, which would have been a Hildebrandt's. And he's talking about being tied up in the yard, running laps until he collapses. He says he's very hungry. He hasn't eaten in a couple days. He's telling all them this. He's in the back of an ambulance. The wounds around his ankles look like rope burn, but there's also some kind of weird, like sticky paste on it. We'll talk about that in a minute. But while they're talking to him in the ambulance, he says, oh, my sister is still in the house. So the 10-year-old daughter was also found inside. She was in a closet. Her head's been shaved at this time, so they were really confused because when they first found her, they thought it was another little boy, and they thought there was another child in the house. But it was his sister. And if you watch the video, you can go on YouTube and watch the video of the police in the house. She is sitting cross-legged, like in a trance, and the cops are like, hello, hello. She won't talk. She is just sitting and staring, which is terrifying. I think they get one of the EMTs is a female, and they get her to come in and talk to her. She won't talk. They finally bring her a pizza, and she eats a pizza, and then she starts talking to them. But it's very, very disturbing. So they arrest Jody Hildebrandt obviously answers the door when the police come. They arrest her. She's absolutely crazy, by the way. She's screaming that she has her lawyer on the phone. And that they don't have the right to search her house, which I don't care what state you live in. They had probable cause to come into your house. They didn't need a search warrant, and especially when it's a child safety issue. They don't need a search warrant. They can come in because it's a child safety issue. But anyway, so she's screaming. They find Ruby Franks like in the back, like at a pool house or something, and she won't talk to them. And in her video where she's at the police station, she's sitting there and they're like, okay, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to, everything else. Do you want to talk to us? Do you want to tell us about what, how did your son get and she is literally blank face staring at them. And she's like, the only thing she says is, I think I'll wait for my lawyer. And they're still asking her questions. And she's just blankly, bitterly, angrily, you can tell if she could shoot lasers from her angry little eyes, she would. She's just sitting there and she will not talk to them. And Jody Hildebrandt won't shut up. She's going on and on about she's this therapist and she has nothing to hide and she'll tell them anything. And my lawyer doesn't want me to talk, but I'll tell you whatever you want to know and blah, 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 blah. And so, yes, So back to the children. The sticky substance that's around the 12-year-old boy's wounds is honey and cayenne pepper, which if any of you know, honey is a great antiseptic. Put those on wounds. It's awesome. It'll work better than Neosporin. Neosporin is bad, by the way. But cayenne pepper is meant to hurt. So they're trying to like protect his skin, I guess, but they're also, like I said, he's been tied. Ruby Franks keeps very, very detailed journals, and she describes these, just their two youngest children, by the way. She describes them as being possessed and that she has to fight for their souls, and it's really disturbing. Sorry, guys. It makes me mad as a mom. Try not to get emotional. The language she uses to describe her children is disgusting, and it greatly upsets me as a mother. But she's talking about how they're possessed and how she has to fight for their souls, and I'll just E and R. She talks about how E is playing, and one of the punishments was she had to carry a box up and down the stairs. That's all she did for like 8 hours a day, is go up and down the stairs with this box. And she says that E fell. And she's like, I know that's the demon inside E trying to play with me, trying to get sympathy. I won't break. She also describes how she ties R up in the backyard because the demon hates the heat and she has to burn it out of him. They're in Utah in the desert. So she ties him up in the yard and he's out there in the sun, and she describes sitting on the shady patio with a drink and listening to R scream, and she's like, I know that demon is hurting or whatever. And I'm like, it just makes me so mad because you're listening to your child scream and you're causing it, and I know it's that demon. No, it's not a demon. It's your poor child out there. They also describe taking them out to some hilly part of the desert and making them run barefoot, and how R and E were crying because their feet were bloody and they were hurting, but they were just going to make them continue to run. So let's just say that the police had a lot of evidence with just her journal entries, but there's also stuff all over the house. There's rope. She makes R sleep on the patio outside of Ruby's room. So there's like a blanket or something for him to lay on. They also find a personal trampoline in Ruby's bedroom, and she also writes that one night she sleeps and she makes, I think it was E, jump on this trampoline all night because she doesn't need sleep. The demon doesn't need sleep to recharge. It's just, as a mom, it makes me really, really sad and very, very emotional because that's not okay. So they have 6 children, by the way. So 2 of them are ostracized. Another 2 of them are with Ruby being punished. We're missing 2 children. Correct? I don't understand this either. That the 2 youngest ones are getting this punishment. They're the possessed ones, but the 2 middle children are perfectly safe. They're with a neighbor. They are not being punished. I don't understand why the 2 youngest ones are possessed, but the 2 middle ones aren't, and the 2 oldest ones are kicked out of the house. And there's never any explanation on that either. But anyway, Ruby and Jody both are charged with 6 counts of aggressive child abuse. Later, each pled guilty to 4 counts. In the plea agreement, certain abuses are admitted to binding the children, forcing physical labor without shoes, depriving of basic needs, food and water, and punishment after consuming water without consent. On February 20th, 2024, Ruby Franks and Jody Hildebrandt were sentenced. Each has 4 consecutive prison terms, each 1 to 15 years under Utah law, combined maximum possibility of 30 years. This time accumulation will depend on parole and other factors like how they act in jail. Kevin comes to the rescue, but he also admits that he hasn't seen the children in over a year. He ends up getting custody of them as he should. I also don't think he's completely. I mean, he obviously didn't partake in the abuse of the children, but like, how do you just not see your family for a year and a half and don't know what's going on with your kids? But
Yeah, that sounds.
yeah, and that the fact that when you come to the police station, because Ruby had called him when all this went down, she's like, you have to come down to Irving and get your kids. When the police start talking to him, he's not like, where are my kids? Are they okay? You know, what's going on? He's like, where's Ruby? Is Ruby okay? Like, that's, my first thing would be like, if Todd was arrested for something and we said I had to come pick up my kids, I'd be like, what happened? Where are my kids? Are they okay? Like, obviously I'd be concerned about Todd, but I'd also be like, who did he kill? Because I know my husband. But anyway, yeah, are my kids okay? Can I see them? What's going on? And then I'd be like, okay, what happened to my husband? But I digress. So, what has changed since the sentencing? What is the impact on the family, on the laws, on the public opinion? Ruby's divorce from Kevin Franke finalized in early 2025. Kevin was not charged with anything. He has publicly expressed regret and pushed for remorse. He's been very public and open. He's done a lot of interviews. The docuseries I was watching, he was very open about it. And he admits that it was he was just as taken in by Jody as Ruby was, but I also feel like you also had a degree of separation from it and you should have had more clarity. But I also understand that he was fighting for his family. So Ruby was like, you're going to do this counseling with Jody and you're going to, if you want your family back, if you want me back, you're going to do this. So I kind of see that point, but also like be a man. The children, the 4 youngest were taken into care. They are undergoing medical and psychological assessment. The 2 eldest children, Sherry and Chad, not Connor. I'm sorry, I've been saying Connor this whole time. It's Chad. Sherry and Chad have spoken out publicly. Sherry published a memoir, The House of My Mother, The Daughter's Quest for Freedom. It's a good book. Go get it. Yeah, Chad was in this docuseries too, and he was very open about stuff. Sherry also spoke in front of Congress about children labor laws and stuff like that, about family blogging and how even if the children are being paid and stuff like that, it's not fair because these children can't consent to putting their lives on the internet, which I totally agree with. But like I said, here, I'll show you an example. Henry, do you want to come say hi? No? Okay. Yeah, he's over there shaking his head no, which is fine. You don't have to come say hi. Oh, you're playing your game? That's cool. Keep playing your game. Oh, you're changing your avatars? That's cool. Yeah, he's changing his avatars on this video game. He doesn't want to come say hi. It's fine.
Get over here now and say hi.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Kidding.
Any of my children. Yeah, that's fine. Sit over there and play your game. I don't force my children to be in the limelight if they don't want to. He doesn't want to come say hi. He's busy changing his avatar. Good for you, bud. Legal reform. Utah has passed laws requiring online content creators to earn over $150,000 from featuring children to set aside 15% of that into a trust for the children's benefit, also giving children rights to request removal of content involving them. Absolutely. If Henry gets older and he's like, hey, I don't like this picture you put on Instagram, or I don't like this video I'm in, it's a Luigi. Oh, you're a Mario. It's nice. I like. It's a Mario. He's so proud. He changes avatars. Anyway. No, I fully agree with that. If any of my kids come to me and they're like, hey, I don't like this picture. Hey, that video I was in 2021, I don't like. it anymore? Can you take that down? Of course, because it doesn't matter. It does not matter. My children's mental health and safety and comfort is more important to me than money and content ever will be. Ever. I don't care if I have 100 million views on that video. My child doesn't like it and doesn't like it being out there. It's coming down. Ruby is incarcerated at Utah State Correctional Facility. First parole hearing scheduled, if applicable, for December of 2026. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
Their divorce just recently got
Yeah.
March finalized.
Yeah. Early 2025, they just got divorced.
Yeah, there's I want to go check out. Yeah, YouTube. I'm scrolling through and it's just thousands and thousands of videos.
Yeah, they have, like I said, from like 2015 to at least 2021, I'd say. They were very, very heavily contented. And you can see the decline. I think Ruby Franks is mentally unhealthy. I think she needs some help from an actual counselor. Jody Hildebrandt should be in prison forever and should never be allowed to counsel anybody ever again. Shouldn't have been allowed to counsel anybody anyway. But I am not a mental health expert, so my expertise is only in internet sleuthing and podcasting. And I'm not even an expert in those either. So anyway. The media has been deeply involved in the framing of this case, both in criticism and exposure of what happens. Devil in the Family, The Fall of Ruby Franks is a Hulu docuseries. It's 3 episodes. I watched that one. It's really good. There's also a Lifetime movie, Mormon Mom Gone Wrong, the Ruby Frank story. I have not seen that. I'm not a Lifetime movie person.
Why not?
Because they're all the same. Damn, it's just like Hallmark Channel. They're all the same damn movie. That's all the same damn thing. Anyway. The public has heavily criticized family blogging. There are questions about children's rights and how much online persona should be created. What responsibility do parents have with their lives and their content? With viewers and comments and social media backlash. Also, some sympathize or understanding emerges around this complex of faith, mental health, and influence of Hildebrandt and lack of external intervention despite the complaints. Ruby, like I said, I don't think Ruby is mentally stable. I think she's got some issues there because there was stuff taking place long before Hildebrandt was ever in the picture. I do think that Hildebrandt abused her fake status because she didn't have a license, but I think Ruby's mental health and she was very influenceable. That's what I was trying to say. I think Jody took advantage of that. I also think Jody saw the whole mom vlogging thing and saw dollar signs and was like, I'm going to cash in on this. So I think that's why she dragged Ruby into all of her craziness. But like I said, Ruby is responsible. She should be held responsible for her actions. But I think Jody might have pulled the strings a lot more. But that doesn't excuse Ruby. That doesn't excuse Mr. Kevin. Ruby and Jody are very evil people. Let's bring it on home, everybody. To bring this all together, the Ruby Frank story is very tragic, multifacting, parenting, faith, social media abuse. The warning signs were there, but many things enabled the situation to continue. The platform, the audience trust, the lack of external oversight, and internal belief systems. That's another thing, is that they were so faith-based that a lot of outside forces didn't want to touch it for the backlash from the religious community, which I am all for religious freedom, but if something is not right, I don't care if it's under religious guile, it needs to be looked at.
Yes.
Just like the FLDS. It's not okay to marry 12-year-old kids just because in your faith it says it's okay. It's not okay. That is not okay. And I don't care if your religion says it's right. It's not right.
Yeah.
I don't care if your religion says that you can discipline your children if you're doing something that's out of hand, like tying them in your backyard in the desert to burn a demon out of them. I don't care that your God said it's okay. That's not okay.
Abuse.
You're withholding food and water from your kids to starve a demon. That is abuse. Your God did not tell you to do that. Anyway, and I don't care if he did, that's not right. That's child abuse. Families and content creators need to be mindful of their power, authority, and responsibility, especially when children are involved. Wholeheartedly. Already talked about this. I'm all for being an open book, but my children's safety and well-being and comfort will always come before views and money. Society must be balanced, respecting religious or personal beliefs with protecting children's welfare. I don't care about your religious or personal beliefs if you're doing things wrong and hurting children. And that's
more adults at that matter.
Yeah. If you're harming anybody,
yes.
I don't care what your religious beliefs are, but if you're harming humans, small or big, it's not right. Yeah. Just don't abuse your children and don't hide within your religious beliefs. What is wrong? Why do you think that that's okay? You know what? I just found out what we're going to do next week too. I know what we're going to talk about next week now because of this. This might be a whole series. All right. In closing, thank you for joining us for unpacking this very difficult story. I will be posting pictures on our Instagram of it, but if you guys don't see that, please dive into this yourself. This is very disturbing. Please watch the Hulu documentary. There's also one on HBO that's really, really good. Read Sherry Frankie's book. It's very enlightening. Yeah. If you found this episode helpful, share it out. Reflect on it. What makes you think about your own media consumption, parenting, faith, and content creators? We are on the Facebook, the Instagram, the YouTubes, Simplecast, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and iHeartRadio. That is where you can listen to us. We are out there, guys. We are out there. I'm sorry we took a couple weeks off. Just need to refresh a little bit, but we're back.
Reset.
We had just had to reset. It was just a couple weeks. I'm sorry, guys. We're back at it. We're doing good. Yeah, I think I'm gonna make this one a series. I think there's like this one and then 2 other ones I want to do with this. So, next week, what are we gonna talk about next week? I'm just gonna give you guys a hint. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. We're gonna talk about weight loss with religious aspects. We're gonna talk about very big hair, and this is in Utah. We're gonna talk next week. We're gonna talk about a religious group in Tennessee. But it also has to do with religious abuse, child abuse, and hiding in the church. Okay, so just think about that. Big hair, religious weight loss, I guess is what I'm going to call it. And we're going to Tennessee. All right. That's all I have. Ma, do you have anything you want to add?
Oh, have a great week. Be good to your children.
Yes, please don't. And
Be good to other children.
Be good to humans in general.
Love everyone.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add. Come back next week because we're going to do this religious abuse series now. But I'm done with the FLDS though. No, this next one isn't Mormons. Why is it the Mormons? Anyway, so yes, come back next week. We have another case. Yeah, it's a case. There's child abuse, there's murder, there's religious abuse.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, I think this is going to be like a religious abuse series. There's, like I said, there's this and 2 other ones I really want to talk about. So if you guys are into that, kind of the culty aspect, but it's not really culty, it's more religious abuse. But anyway, come back next week for more.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's all I have, guys. Have a great week. Be kind to humans, be good to your children's. Do something nice for somebody. Have a great week. CC out.